You're welcome back to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. It's brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN. Welcome to the New World Star Assurance. They've been creating smiles since 1985, and you're celebrating 30 solid years of partnership. Now, there are just tons of messages on the President's visit to Scotland, and I'll read a few more, and then we'll move on to the issues of terror alert, and we'll box that one into the matter of British fugitive that's been picked up here in Ghana. Now, Godfrey says that so embarrassing was Standogbe's conduct that it was reported in a public newspaper, the Times of Scotland. Well, I understand, Godfrey, that that is actually not correct because it was not really published in the paper. This is something that somebody created and put out there in social media, and that it doesn't exist. Well, I have also received messages from people who say they are right there in Scotland as we speak, Ghanaians, and they suggest that that action received a lot of attention by the media there. This one from specifically on that issue from Kweku Owusu Ansa. He says that I want the specific message that he sent. I think I saw it just a while ago, and he spoke to that issue specifically. When I pick it up, I'll share it with you. But now let's look at what Kwame Sapong Esiedu, I don't know, is he there in Scotland? He's somewhere there. I'm not too sure where exactly he is at that place. He says that the matter of gay, lesbian rights and the protestations our president received are interesting. Historically, until about 20 years ago, homosexuality was a crime in the United Kingdom, of which Scotland is a part. That's what Isankuma refers you to earlier. People were jailed for engaging in these acts, and none have had their convictions annulled retrospectively. Those convictions are considered safe based on the laws of the time. I find it strange that the Scots expect that the change in their laws should result in a reciprocal change in laws around the world. What the nauseating behavior shown by the MSPs, say the Greens, right, indicated was the fact that they were oblivious to the rule, norms and customs, the roles that norms and customs play in the laws of a sovereign state like Ghana. From a norm and customs point, in Scotland, animal sacrifice is perceived as cruel, but in Ghana, it is custom. In Scotland, men wear skirts without any underwear. In Ghana, that is alien. Sometimes I just feel some have tunnel vision when it comes to laws of developing countries. No one should force our parliament into anything majority in the country are not ready for. They should wait. If they ever get to that bridge, we will cross it. And that is from Kwame Sapong Esiedu. I think I'll read maybe a very final one coming from our own Kojo Yankson, and he says, we believe that the Scottish Parliament should be a place where everyone can feel safe. Okay, you are quoting them, but earlier what you sought to say is that what exactly, okay, Scottish Parliament power, what a demonstration of ignorance to have the barefaced cheek to suggest that the presence of our president in your parliament poses a threat to your safety. What exactly do you imagine President Mahama will do to you and your LGBT colleagues? Rape you? In any case, which of the Ghanaian legislation outlawing LGBT did President Mahama pass? How dare you serve such a cocktail of ignorance and rudeness to our president? Do you not work in parliament? Do you not know how laws are made and changed? Or do you think all African leaders are dictators? You see, this is clear evidence that even in enlightened society, a few fall through the cracks of common sense to dwell in the slimy sewage of stupidity. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay, so that's it. That's where I end it. I'll not take further because most of you, your messages are rather just barefaced insults to the to the people. Now let's look at the alert that's been issued, and I think we are. It's part of the reasons you are here with us as the Deputy Interior Minister. We have the state issued an alert and asking Ghanaians to be cautious about certain things and to look out for certain things because of a potential terror threat. I mean, was that really necessary? Yes, shouldn't the security be doing their own things underground?
Well, Samson, the security has been working underground for a long time. But the issue of terrorism it has become an existential threat. And so, as a responsible government, the alert has to be raised. I mean, we have put measures in place. We've rolled out quite a number of measures, I mean, including the retooling of our armed forces, the police force, the setting up of special forces, anti-terrorism, units, etc., to deal with the issue of terrorism. But in recent times, I think that the threat has become even more pronounced. Our neighbors, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Nigeria, have all been terribly exposed. And so, as a responsible government, the National Security Council, after having made a review of the situation, needed to caution the public. Our own attitudes as a people must also change if we must deal with the issue of terrorism in a successful, manner. You can put all the measures in place, and I have stated earlier that government has not relented at all in rolling out measures to deal with terrorism. But if you don't have the cooperation of the public, it becomes a very difficult issue to deal with. Remember, these are not people who would want to engage, say, the special forces of a country in a conventional, fight or a war. They target public places, which are usually soft targets, where people are having pleasure, leisure.
So what exactly do you want people to do?
What we're saying is that Ghanaians must be conscious of the fact that the threat of terrorism is real. And so we must begin to change our attitudes. You know, Ghanaians, by their nature, we are very hospitable. We receive visitors, and we're even prepared in most cases to sacrifice our own comfort and make strangers very comfortable. We're not saying that all of a sudden
hospitable.
Yes, we're not saying that all of a sudden Ghanaians should not be hospitable to strangers. But we must also develop the skill to detect suspicious characters and report their conduct to the security agencies, so that, one, the response time of the security agencies in the event that there is an attack would be such that they intervene before havoc is wreaked, on the people. There are public places that we need to protect. We have already ruled out quite a number of measures. I cannot mention all the things that we have put in place to repel terrorist attacks should it happen in this country. But we're saying that if we are vigilant as a people, we would be able to minimize the risk of a terrorist attack in this country. But the threat is existential. We cannot run away from it. Burkina Faso, Mali, and in all these instances, certain facilities were targeted. And so in our own situation, we're saying that, listen, let even the operators of certain facilities take certain measures. We have taken them through some briefings. We've told them what to do, what to look out for when strangers appear, or when they come in, even the landlords also have a role to play. I mean, you should take an interest in knowing, wanting to know who your tenants are, what they do, what their mission is, I mean, in our country, if they are foreigners. I mean, it's not out of place to do that, but oftentimes you find that we take our own personal security for granted. You know, you don't even know your immediate surroundings. From now onwards, we're saying that as a country, it is our collective responsibility to take these things seriously and cooperate with the security agencies to deal with the threat, which is just around our borders. But the president sent his deepest condolence to the people of Ivory Coast. When it happened in Burkina Faso, we did same. I do not, if you ask me, think that Ghana has conducted itself in a manner that, of course, would make it attractive to terrorists. But that does not mean that we should sit aloof.
Do you know why they targeted our neighbors, for example?
I do know, but I think I would refrain from making direct comments, I mean, on that for certain specific reasons.
So, but it is the case that they have done something that attracts terrorists, anger?
I don't want to say so, but I'm saying that I do not think that Ghana has conducted itself in a manner that makes it an attractive destination for terrorism. But we cannot take things for granted. We must be prepared.
So people are complaining about our porous borders, the way terrorists act. You are talking about they get to populated places, marketplaces. They may get into trotros. Nobody is there to watch anything. Even if you go to the malls where you are looking at big places, we walk in there and there's nothing like some surveillance that's going on there.
And it's not clear what signals we should expect or what, I think for the public to get involved, we need to know what to look out for in people's behaviors, maybe in certain manners, in certain things that are more visible that we can see, So if some of this information can come out, I think it will help. Because, of course, if, left, right, top, and you're at the bottom, of course, you know that it's possible that somebody at least will make an attempt. But to stop that attempt with public support, I think the public needs more information. At the moment, they don't. If you look at certain establishments, you immediately see that some alert has been given, and therefore they are taking certain precautions. I don't know about the security issues, but I don't even want to mention the establishment I've seen that are actually doing physical, electronic, and all those things. So basically, as for the ordinary person,
Parliament has started and stepped up its security by what they have done. They inaugurated it yesterday.
The police station
right there. And now having access to Parliament is going to be more difficult. Even getting into the car park is going to be a difficult situation.
Yes. Something it is extremely difficult to come out with some tips on what is likely to happen in the event of a terrorist attack, or even when there is about to be an attack. For instance, in the case of Ivory Coast, they came in a boat, landed on the beach, and started attacking. So they didn't even mingle for long. They came in a boat. Only God knows where they came from. So it is difficult, but as and when intelligence is gathered about, say, the movement of terrorists, I am very sure that the national security apparatus will send out signals and for Ghanaians to identify suspicious characters and report on their movements. But as a people, what we're saying is that we should all be security conscious. For instance, somebody comes to...
The question she just asked you.
Yes.
What am I supposed to look out for? What are the signs? What should I see and then prompt who?
The police.
Yes. I may have to prompt the police, but what should I see? Because if I have to wait for any violence to happen, then that will be too late.
Yes, something like I said earlier on. I mean, if somebody comes to me and asks, he starts asking questions about multimedia, this facility, how many people are usually here at a given time. I mean, you should ask probing questions. Why are you seeking this information about multimedia? You don't volunteer information without probing to know what the mission of the person is. So immediately somebody starts asking you those questions, you must know that no, something is wrong. Immediately you must prompt.
I thought they
the
would
state
usually do
security
their
apparatus.
recce even before they come in.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not well. That could be part of the
that could be
recce to
part of
come
the recce.
to multimedia premises and ask, say, the security man that in the building to the right-hand side of the road, how many people are usually there at any given time. Most often people just start giving answers without probing to know why those questions are asked in the first place. So we are saying that we should all be conscious. And so when you encounter such persons and they start asking those type of questions, immediately you should know something is wrong. You have to give the alert.
Let me continue with Madam Ivaloko. There are people who are asking questions. Can we really trust our security to do anything really about a terror threat? Because we are in this country, and just very recently, how many weeks ago, about a week ago, or just last week, the British had to show our security where to go and pick up a fugitive who had been publicized, announced by the UK to be wanted for drug offenses, and he's come, lived with us, even married our stepdaughters, and lived with us for 3 years. We didn't get to detect that. How can we detect a terrorist?
Well, you see, of course, the terrorist is more sophisticated. And I'm sure some of them have got very good military training and all those funny stuff the security people can do. What worries me is that we do have enough people in the security services and structures in the security services that can definitely help to stop or deal with any security issues. But I have a question. I heard a story on radio one day about a 12-year-old boy who was arrested by police and questioned. And he explained to them that, he's a very smallish person and he has nowhere to sleep. He sleeps in the streets. But there's a gang of thieves who come when they're ready for him to go into homes and steal items like computers, cell phones, money, and so on. And that the method that they use is to put acid continuously on a certain metallic, all this burglar-proofing thing, for weeks and they go and test it. And they know that after maybe 4 or 5 days, this thing will be ready. So when they go, they don't have to cut or break into anything. They just open it like a can of sardine. Enough for this smallish person to go in and do their bidding. Now, when this guy finished talking and told them everything and told them that the person who helps him a lot knows about this and even allows him to sleep in front of his shop and so on and so forth, but he's not sure if he's also part of the gang, they let this boy go, telling him to go and bring his parents or something. Now, fortunately, there was a journalist there, and the journalist picked him up. I mean, it's a whole long story, but this is what we heard. Now, if the police will allow somebody like this to go, it's very frightening, you see. So it means that depending on the level of understanding and appreciation, some of these people who are even smarter than this, it's a 12-year-old boy, okay? And he's telling you where the other boy also comes from. I think it's Takwa or Kwewu area. There's another person like him. And that this is what goes on. So if you have a shop with container or any house with burglar proofing, this is what is going on. They let the guy go. So in a situation where a terrorist who is smarter comes to tell you a credible sounding story, you have to let him go. I also know of places where somebody is in a house. The house is a residence, and they've got this huge satellite dish. Is it allowed? Because your TV does not need, it's as wide as this, big. okay? And it's in a house. What are they receiving? But the police passes by and just walks by. You know, I will go and ask you, what do you need this in your house for? Because your TV doesn't need it. Whatever else, your internet doesn't need it. So what is it that you're using it for? So these are some of the things. You know, if you can list certain items that they don't belong in a residence, then people will come and tell you, oh, I think I saw one here. If you go, maybe there's a genuine reason, but maybe there isn't. So we want to see during this alert that whether plain clothes, we don't know, with proper ID, of course, so that they don't also become, you know, can come around areas, residential areas, especially, you know, the big areas where a lot of people gather, you know, on a regular basis, to find out if there's anything funny going on there. Because a trained security person can identify certain things and raise their suspicion or alarm. But the ordinary person, especially you, as you said, we are very nice people. So as soon as somebody comes to us, we rather think the person needs help. So we are on the ball to help the person out. And maybe you'll be giving information that is helping a terrorist. So I believe that we also have a need for tools and equipment. I know that some has been provided, okay? But I think that we need the kind that will allow us also to see things before others see it and report to us. Because I'm very unhappy with what he just said. That somebody sitting in our own space, we cannot detect that person. How are we communicating with Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Mali, their security? We don't know. We don't want the details, but it will be very comforting to know that we have such close ties with them now, especially on the security bit. We are close with each other, but because of the alert, what are the lessons learned? What lessons do we learn from this place that we can now use to make sure that there's no repeat in Ghana? And it will be very good for citizens to know that we have this set of lessons learned and that we are going to apply it. The ones that don't apply to us, fine. But definitely there will be some things that we can learn from them to make sure that we are not leaving any stone unturned. And I believe that we have a lot of these cadets in schools. I think the police, and they should be working with them because they want to be part of the security and police and army, okay? They march, they do all those things. Please gather all of them.
Or get to plant a number of them as informants.
Exactly. So train them, advise them, you know, let them be part of what is going on because they've signed up for it already.
But if they are doing that, they will not tell you that that's what we are doing.
No, I'm just suggesting, you know, because there are so many things that we, and in fact, I like the fact that certain institutions have already been briefed and so on. But I think that, you know how after a while, we all fall back and say, oh, nothing has happened for the past week, so it's okay. I had my stuff stolen in the house at night. And now, before that, because of what that young person said, I knew exactly what happened. They've been at it for a while.
Okay.
So we didn't hear anything. My laptop, everything that was electronic in the house, they tucked all of them away. Okay? And we didn't hear a sound. Now, basically, when you have a situation like this, it means that certain, you know, issues need to be discussed with people. Don't give them the deep security
on that note,
issues.
hear what Francisca says. She says that government hasn't given reasonable information with regards to individual public safety or what security agencies are doing. The checks at hotels and other public places by security men whose knowledge of terrorism is unknown but walk around our cars with mirrors looking for metals and bombs, quote unquote, is hard to comprehend and definitely assures no one of their safety.
Can I comment on that?
Right.
I walked into a hotel. I didn't know we can say these things, but I walked into a hotel carrying a small purse in my hand. So when I got there, I was handing the purse. He said, oh, no, it doesn't. I said, hey, my friend, do you know how sophisticated things have become now?
Okay.
You have to say, I don't care how small it is. For all you know, they've dismantled something, you know, some flat thing, soft thing has been squeezed in.
Right.
As soon as they enter, they will open. So what she's saying is true. I mean, it's confirming what I was worried about.
right.
But the fact is that if they don't know what to look out for, they will look into my purse and see all my tools, because I carry a lot of, you know, screwdrivers and other things in my purse. They will see it and say, oh, okay, madam, and then I'll go. And when I get into the hotel, I go and put it together. So you see, they have to be told. And therefore, this looking under the mirror, and some of them, they say, open your door. So you open it and they do this. And then they say, thank you. They close it. Then they open the four doors. So we need more.
Let's hear from Kweku. And a number of the questions I had lined up, my listeners or our listeners are sending the questions in. One says, who do we call when we see anything suspicious? Even if our call is answered, what will happen? How quick is our security services response to emergency calls? Are they trained to respond to bomb threats, suicide bombers, armed attacks, etc.? How confident can Ghanaians be in the ability of security forces that cannot even deal with nomadic herdsmen? And when you see something suspicious, define it so that the person will be guided, like Madam Ivaloko said earlier.
Well. Look, out there, we all know what has been going on in the last few years. 9/11, of course, brought it to a certain level. Then I think in Britain, July 7th, was it 2005, you know? So it's global. Terrorism is known. It's
the Paris attacks in November.
That's right,
and
yeah.
Thankfully, they have been able to follow. And for the most part of the night last night, I was watching between CNN, BBC, and you could see how they trail these guys, international manhunt.
Yeah.
And they've picked up about 5. And the main guy, Salam Abdel Salam, they've got him.
Yes, so you see, we have to study, examine the experiences of those countries that have become targets of terrorism. I'm told, in fact, I read it, and it was Dr. Reku Brube's recent article, that the Global Terrorism Index, we are ranked 93.
Which means what?
That tells the levels of impact of terrorist activities within your jurisdiction. Nigeria is 3rd. You know, Britain, what did they say? The United Kingdom is 35. United States is 28. We are 93. Switzerland is immediately after us. So there's a certain global index, just like we do with Transparency International and the rest.
Okay.
But we are fortunate to know that these things have been going on in various jurisdictions. So we need to study what are the telltales, you know, what are the signs, what happens. We share information. The world is sharing intelligence on the threat posed by terrorism. So there are 2 levels. As far as I'm concerned, there are 2 levels. The intelligence capability of our state institutions is primary. But the community consciousness, security consciousness within our communities, these 2 together, if we get a balance right, we can be doing something about it. Because of the way they come, it's not, as my brother James said, it's not conventional. They are not even the guerrilla type. You don't see them. See, and it's indiscriminate mass violence. Sometimes even people who sympathize with them become victims of their mindless, you know, violence. So it's difficult. I think the National Security Council's alert was in order. It has this potential to also create some panic. There's no doubt, but they had no choice. It was a necessary evil, considering what is happening within the SOP region and the incident in La Côte d'Ivoire after Burkina Faso. I was only intrigued by something James said, and I have to be careful how I go about it, that we have not done enough to attract, to make ourselves an attraction for these mindless lunatics. Some of them, the way they think. Look, our participation in the peace efforts in Mali could be enough grounds for some of them to target you. I don't know whether you get me.
I do.
Yeah, it could be enough. After, they also look for installations, interest, facilities of the countries they perceive as their enemies, some of whom have embassies and facilities and installations here. So it's not a, we've passed the stage where we ought not to be overrating the fact that we have not done enough to attract them. These guys are mindless. When they decide that, look, perhaps they want to hit country B and not Ghana, but they will target the installation here that belongs to that country B. Unfortunately, there will be collateral damage in terms of the actions they take. So, to be honest, that's why the whole thing has become globalized. It's become international now, and no longer isolated events. So, I'm not sitting here, I don't have the competence, really, to begin to give, you know, solutions or prescriptions. I think we have people who have that competence, and we can share information with the outside international community. There's only another thing that is, I think if I say it, I might be sounding mischievous. This, I hope, I just sincerely hope, that we don't also use this thing to create a certain psychological environment to push the spy bill through without any serious analysis.
That's a suspicion of some.
Yeah, it might sound mischievous, but and you see
But
the
that
way
would be too
James
much,
is looking
wouldn't
at
it?
me, I'm just saying that I'm being cautious. But look, it's possible if you are not careful. You see, we are all afraid. I know fear can lead to immobilization, inertia. Everybody says, oh, hey, come on, pass it through quickly. Because this is terrorism. Don't forget, it was one of the reasons for the bill.
Major reasons.
Is the anti-terrorism fight.
Right.
So I'm only saying, let's still have a sense of proportion as we pursue that particular legislation. James, don't laugh, I mean it. It might sound
I'm going to play for your hearing quickly what the Interior Minister has to say about some tips that he's giving, and let's see whether you make sense of it. Continue.
Yes, no, those things I leave, but I leave to the authorities. And we also, if we study other countries, their experiences, we'll be able to get some of those telltales. But bottom line is enhancing the intelligence capability of the state institutions, immigration service, the armed force, all those things, having specialized units in some of those places. And the recent thing that was launched, that national something.
Yes, the center from where
the emergency
the surveillance
control
ought to
center.
be done.
Yes, that itself could be part of the solution, I mean the machinery. You know, we should enhance. ICT should be brought on board, CCTV rather, should be brought on board in certain particular locations. I'm not asking for Big Brother to be watching everybody everywhere. Some of us do all sorts of things. So we have to be careful. But you see, this is the danger of terrorism. It can paradoxically lead to some limitations on our rights. But I caution, the spy bill should not be fast-tracked because of this matter.
Well, it's interesting. Wait, let's listen to your minister, and then we'll come to you. But somebody also whispered to me, but why is it that at the time when we are doing this, when we're just about issuing the alert, our president was leaving the country. Duajaho, is he still the president at the moment, acting president? He was leaving the country. If it is that serious, why would he leave at that time? Well, I suppose that they are capable hands to deal with it. That's why he left. But the other question is, at the same time too, one of the men that we believe may have some expertise, in fact, the African Union believe he has that capacity to assist in the fight against terrorism at the continental level or the regional level. He has been taken away from Ghana. I'm talking about Mr. Gbevlo Latte. He has been appointed, the AU appoint him as special representative in charge of counter-terrorism cooperation and director of a research and study institute at the AU. Let's listen to the Interior Minister. Okay.
Well, you're talking about other countries, and we are here speaking about Ghana. the same advice that other countries have given to their citizens, we are giving, the National Security Council is giving a similar advice to Ghanaians to be cautious, vigilant, and curious. We are here. We're not going to ask anybody not to come here. If you are a Ghanaian, you're coming home, you will come home okay. But when we are on this land, we're talking about Ghanaians and foreign nationals who are here to just add another level of vigilance as they do go about their normal duties. That's what we are asking for. You are quoting from other countries. We are doing similar things in a different way. Obviously, we engage in intelligence because of intelligence information that we are asking Ghanaians to be careful. I mean, we're not working in a vacuum. So if we have determined, and if you read the statement, very clear that work has been going on over the months in terms of making sure that Ghanaians are secured and safe to be able to go around their economic activities in this country. If the National Security Council has released a statement clarifying and enhancing these activities that are already ongoing, I think that we should collaborate and then with the security agencies to ensure that we achieve our objectives. There is an ongoing exercise, and from time to time, citizens will be informed as to the details of their activities. Should there be an event, we will alert citizens as to what to do. We are doing sufficient security preparations for any event, as the security agencies have been doing over the years. We have, from the statement indicates that there is a threat around the region. We don't know the exact threats, but we are informed. And the preparations are such that this will minimize the risks to our citizens to the minimum level. And we can, in confidence, assure Ghanaians that every security measure that will lead to minimizing any risk are being taken now. And these measures will be reviewed from time.
Right. So what would you say? He's giving such assurance. Are you not able to rely on his assurance? Some will say, for example, where were we when the Nigerian, the 23-year-old Nigerian, Omar Farouk, went through our airport and he had stuff in his underwear to detonate. He only got to the US to be arrested.
Yes, that is the that's the danger we've been living with. And yes, assurances will be given. It has always been given. In the UK, US, the advanced countries, they've been giving assurances to their citizenry. Yet, it does happen. I happened to be in France when this thing happened to them, the terrorist attack. Yeah, in Paris, precisely. And
130 or so people, killed.
Yes, and you get to know how the French is so sophisticated in fighting against terrorism. Yet, they remain vulnerable. So you appreciate the extent of our own situation back home. And in terms of this, the women and children are the most vulnerable ones. And what that's why my sister was so curious, asking, what do we have to look for? And unfortunately, there are no alerting signs. These people does not advertise themselves before going into play. So it's all about security consciousness in your own small way.
They could come live with you, rent a store in the market where you are, and then
even marry your stepdaughter and maybe your sister.
God forbid.
Yes.
This is risky.
God forbid.
and like you have it on your hand. And they may even have in your own passport, fake ones, Ghanaian passport, identity. So in trying to preempt and fight these things, prevent, I think we are talking about preventive measures. Where is our national identification card system? So we can easily identify ourselves as being Ghanaians and that this man or woman is coming from elsewhere. So we can be more vigilant and then be...
But a Ghanaian could also be a terrorist.
Exactly. I'm coming there, Kwaku. So now we are here. we are all terrified about international terrorism. And we have to live with internal terrorism. The people of Agogo and elsewhere, as we speak, because of this, the activities of Fulanis and the cattle, they are living in fear, perpetual fear. Their farms have been taken over, burnt or whatever. Women have been raped, people have been shot within our own lands. What have we been able to do? And people will be looking up to the woman who goes to the farm at Agogo, will sight Fulani man and the cattle coming. Alarm is raised. Who is coming to her rescue? What is to be done? These are little things that builds up. And we all agree that the international terrorists are more sophisticated and more, I mean, they operate in diverse ways that you cannot apprehend and comprehend their modus operandi. So we have serious issue on our hands. I remember something when once upon a time our late president said, "Do you fear them?" because he did not want Ghana to intervene in Ivory Coast crisis and all that. Do you fear them? Now here we are. We cannot contend with our own case again. We are still exposed to international frontiers, and this phenomenon of terrorism has no boundaries. We are still living with it, and we continue to live with it. So some of the preventive measures, I think we need to get schools, particularly those who have advertised themselves as being UK schools, American schools, French schools, and all those things, visibly identified as being, Kwaku just said, that country B may be the target, but they find a very, very easy target in country C as being the property or whatever to be attacked. And you have the collateral damage, and you have all these things. So now all we need to do is to make people of public institutions and public places, private institutions, private places, be that security conscious. That takes us to the University of Ghana saga, when our own dear Lieutenant Colonel Lati, he was the security chief capo, is it? National security.
Which saga are you talking about?
When University of Ghana wanted to regulate the traffic, the vehicular traffic within.
You mean the booth?
Yes, the booth. It was one, even though it was, people thought it was too much of monetary consideration, income generating, but it was premised on security, being alert and making sure which car moves in there, comes in and out. It was a very laudable idea, and I think we must be applauding them by now. And fortunately, we have our man going to the AU. I think these are lessons well learned, and we need to encourage institutions who try to be proactive in this direction. Other than that, we know terrorism all over. You've been traveling, you've been almost stripped naked in around airports, international airports. You have to lose everything, including your belt, and then your shoes and all those things. And you are continuously being warned not to depart with your luggage. Otherwise, it's taken for the galleys. So, yes, there are a lot of lessons to be learned. And we still remain vulnerable. Our drinking bars, our hotels, lorry parks, and all kinds of things. That notwithstanding, we should be very cautious and very, very, very cautious and alert.
Very alert.
Otherwise, people will simply put people in trouble.
Okay.
By simply alerting and then causing all those things. Being curious, as the minister said, may and should not be used abusively. I mean, it should not be. It should not be used wantonly.
You know what just came into my mind?
Yeah.
When I read part of the attacks in Côte d'Ivoire, that one small boy said a prayer.
Yes, he said a Muslim prayer and he was saved.
You know, what just came into my mind is, why don't we all learn Arabic?
Why don't we all learn Arabic?
And learn a bit. No, you see,
I suspect
because
you didn't say anything beyond Allahu Akbar.
That's not
Everybody
enough. Because
can say
that one
that.
we can say that because the other child could also have said that.
Yes, but the
So
child,
I'm sure
that child
it's
couldn't
a
say
proper.
so
No,
he
it's
was
a
killed.
proper this thing. You see, we
So
teach religion and morals.
the target was on non-Arabic speaking people.
Well, or non-Muslims.
Well,
because
I
that's
guess,
what
I
that's
guess,
what the
I
report
guess we may not have to
looks
escalate
like,
the discussion
you
to
know.
that
Yeah.
point,
You know.
because
No,
of
but
how
it's useful to
sensitive,
know.
how
It
sensitive
knows
it
no
is.
bounds.
Right.
I mean,
Can
I'll give you the last word on that, but okay, I need to take a break. You do it quickly, and then let me take a break.
Yes,
here.
I just wanted to react quickly to Kweku's suspicion that we might hide under the cover of what is happening now, terrorism, to smuggle through Parliament
Allow it to pass. Allow them to
railroad.
the interception of
spy
postal
bill.
packets and communication bill. I have always refused to accept that tag on the bill that it is a spy bill.
bill.
It is not a spy bill.
For ease of reference, we say
That's
spy
all.
bill. It's okay, let it go.
Samson, what we have tried to do, and that is a direct response to, terrorism, we are seeking to harmonize all the laws, to consolidate them
You don't say that in the memorandum.
into...
It is because now we are saying things
not
and
there.
contributing.
No.
If you say that is
Yeah.
what you are seeking to do
It's
now,
not there.
that is fine. But that's not what you have in the memorandum.
that's
Samson,
right.
you see things that are obvious
don't
needn't
need to say
appear
them.
in the memorandum.
And sometimes you
Over
have
the
to
period,
state them
over
because
the period,
We need to repeat
and you know what the
some
rules.
aspects.
Yes.
Samson, you know what the rule on interpretation is. A legislation that is later in time. When you are interpreting and there is a conflict, that legislation takes precedence over all other legislations. We are saying that, listen, as it stands now, if you are dealing with narcotics, there are some provisions which are not extensive and expansive enough on interception. If you are dealing with money laundering, you go to the Anti-Terrorism Act, there are some skeletal provisions on interception. It doesn't augur well for us. So let us have a standalone legislation to harmonize all the laws in an expansive way
Apart
to
from
deal with lawful
the introduction of allowing the National Security Coordinator,
Yes.
or what you refer to as a public officer,
Yes.
to be able to intercept for 48 hours without reference to the court,
Yes.
and also to be able to do so orally.
Orally.
Yes.
What is different
Something-
from what already exists?
Something.
In substance, really.
And for me, and for me,
And the
that
mainstream
is
is not
important.
killed in any way.
It enables our security apparatus the opportunity to respond. The response time is what we're looking at. And you see, I have a serious problem when people raise that as the issue for criticizing the bill. What is the best practice elsewhere? Go to other jurisdictions where there are standalone legislations, for instance, in the UK. As for us, the power of the National Security Coordinator to authorize interception without a warrant is limited. And even when that has been done, you need to go back to court and seek a confirmation. If you
48
don't,
the 48
whatever you have intercepted becomes unlawful. And if you disclose its content,
You are referring us to England. The Bar Council and the other parties were up in arms. They said you don't have to do this. Here to our bar association has raised similar issues about privilege as well.
No,
If I'm having a communication with my priest, it's supposed to be privileged.
Yes.
If I'm dealing with my lawyer and the privileged communication, all of that they are brought to attention.
Samson, that is why there is the need for information intercepted through the oral instruction of the coordinator to seek a confirmation within 48 hours. If you don't, wait a minute. If you don't, the interception becomes unlawful and you cannot disclose the content. If you do, you are liable to a punishment up to 10 years.
Okay.
So the punishment is very stiff. Now,
Thank you.
something in conclusion, the point I want to make is that comparatively speaking, in the UK, where there is a similar legislation, the Minister for Home Affairs actually authorizes interception without recourse to a court whatsoever. So what we are trying to do with this bill It's a marked improvement on what the best practice is in other jurisdictions.
In the UK,
You are talking about a minister. You are talking about a minister of state.
Of course.
In the UK,
How different is that? The National
James,
Security Coordinator
James,
is an
in the
appointee,
UK, the
just like the minister.
In the UK, the outcry is just as what the Ghana Bar Association has put out.
Yeah.
No court, no interception.
Oh, but that is
That's-
the law.
that's the
The
outcry.
1985
Okay.
law.
Anyway,
on interception.
anyway,
I
this
think
is
that
where-
process that needs to be checked.
This is where I take a quick break. But before that, Kwame Owusu says that I'm speculating that some of the accusations the Scottish MPs were putting forward was as a result of some of our Ghanaian brothers making applications for asylum in those in that country, stating that they are being haunted in Ghana and have evidence of such, with documents and so on. So maybe some of the guys who have been molested and assaulted in Ghana over issues of homosexuality are seeking asylum in that country. So that's how come they have some of those informations. Now, Malik says that he says that how many times haven't the police asked us, the citizenry, to bring suspects ourselves or tell us they don't have a vehicle, so you either use your car or hire a taxi. So are we really prepared? For me, it's by divine whatever that Ghana is safe and not any security arrangements. Okay, that's coming from Malik. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back to see if we can deal briefly with the fugitive matter specifically, and then also we have a debate of the national debt, the exact issues about the national debt and Smarty's involvement in some electrification matters that came up. We'll look at them as much as we can. We'll be right back.